Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so that potential buyers can learn more about the business and the seller to help them make an informed buying decision. If you would like to learn more about this business, including details like what type of business it is, how much revenue and profit it makes, and all of the assets included with the business, simply visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business's listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and in the description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. So without further ado, let's get into this interview. First up, let's learn a little bit about you. Can you tell us about your background in building and running online businesses?
Hey, thanks for having me. I've been in the online advertising space for about 24 years now. I started my business when I was 14, incorporated it when I was 15. So that was quite a bit ago. I'm 38 now, and I like to tell people I've never, quote unquote, had a real job, just been in online advertising my whole life. I've been building websites just for fun since the late 90s. I started this particular business back in 2019, but it didn't really take off, so I kind of just put it on the back burner and didn't pay too much attention to it. But then in May 2024, when my other business was in a little bit of a slump, I decided to put a little bit more focus back into this business, and I had an actual new idea I wanted to test out with it anyway, and that idea ended up actually working pretty well, so that was neat.
Why are you selling the business now instead of keeping it and growing it further?
My main business for the past 10 years or so has been in the online trivia space, and I've put a lot of attention into this political business lately, and I kind of miss the trivia business, and I want to be able to put a little more time and thought back into that. And then in addition, I'm looking to purchase a house soon, so having a little extra cash for a down payment would be really neat there.
Can you describe the amount and the type of work that you do on this business to maintain it?
So most of the work for this business is just generating the new content daily and then setting up the email newsletters to post the new content. It usually only takes about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half every morning. And then in addition to that, you would have to do just the normal things you would do with an online business of occasionally check revenue and statistics and stuff and answer emails with, suppliers, advertisers, that kind of stuff, which doesn't really take too long.
So if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways you would try to grow it?
If I were to keep this business, one of the biggest things I would be looking into would be trying to make connections or whatnot to sell direct advertising to political action committees or direct political campaigns, particularly for the 2026 primary elections. I think there's probably going to be a big boom in spending for that election cycle, and these sites, newsletters, could be a pretty good recipient of that.
Right. And what would you say are the biggest risks with this business that buyers should be aware of?
So what's kind of cool about this business as opposed to some other businesses I've been into and some other businesses I've seen listed on Empire Flippers is that all the eggs aren't really in one basket for this. All our traffic doesn't come from Google search or from Facebook. Like, it primarily comes from our own email newsletters, which we own the data for. Even if something happens with a ESP for some reason, you can just switch to a different ESP and still email those same users that you already have. We actually currently use 2 different ESPs anyway, so that kind of minimizes the risk there. So that's pretty cool about this business. If I were to say think of the biggest risk to the business, I think it would be that something happens with the political advertisers and they dry up for whatever reason. And instead of having kind of elevated CPMs because of the relevance of the content to these advertisers, you might be getting more generalized CPMs for the ads on the sites and the newsletters.
How much support are you willing to offer the buyer who acquires this business?
More generally, I'd say as much support as you need. I don't see that as a problem there. But to be a little more specific, the way I see this working would be that for the first couple of days, maybe even week, I'd do a screen share call with the buyer and we'd go through how everything works, my whole process works with this, just to make sure that they really know what they're doing. And then after that, I'm open for, email support for months or even longer than that, and even 2 years down the line, if you had a specific question about something with this business, I don't mind answering your email, helping you out. Seems cool.
Are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out agreement?
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm really interested in a earn-out payment structure for this. It's not really such a high amount of money anyway that the complication of that would be, I think, worth doing for either party.
Okay, final question. If you had to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why is your business a business worth buying?
So this is a fun question because there's a lot of interesting answers here. So if you already had some assets related to politics or to our primary demographic of U.S. voters age 50 plus in any way, I think there's some really big cross-sell opportunities here if you had those kinds of assets. And then on the other end, if you're a salesperson or you have a sales team, there might be some good opportunities to sell direct ads to super PACs and direct political campaigns. And then if you're just interested in politics or sociology, it's kind of a fun business to run sometimes because you get to see where people's opinions actually are because you're asking them questions, poll questions often. And that's just kind of cool. And you get some big surprises there sometimes. So if you're interested in that and, want to make some extra money on that, it's a kind of cool thing. Then something I'm kind of missing that a potential buyer might be good at is the whole figuring out virtual assistants. So if you could do this, if you really knew how to find a good virtual assistant, this could be a totally passive income stream for the right buyer. Most importantly, the reason to buy this business is because it throws off some pretty consistent profits, doesn't take a whole lot of work, and has a cool little built-in call option that it could have a huge boom during political, especially a tight political election season. And I think in particular, the 2026 primary elections will be that. That's a cool reason to be worth buying it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this business is still for sale, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll find everything you need to know about this business. So, thanks for joining us. See you next time.